heard it even without the mic, I think, the banging. Good evening to all who are watching on TV, the hundreds of local Sonoma and even beyond Sonoma residents who love the fact that we have a Climate Action Commission in Climate Smart Sonoma. We'll be talking more about that slogan this evening. I think I should read this entire process. Comments from the public. I think the public understands the rules.
We need to approve the agenda and to
Oh.
roll call first.
Well, yeah. Okay, let's go with the roll call. Philip's here.
Philip is here. Oh, my bad.
You could stay where you are.
Sure.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baston,
Here.
Commissioner Fogelberg,
Here.
Commissioner Conlon,
Vice Chair.
Here.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Commissioner Heinerman,
Late, but here.
Chair Morrell.
On time and here. Hi, Philip. We're going to move next. This is the November 4th meeting of the City of Sonoma, Climate Action Sonoma, Climate Action Commission. What a good fit. We're going to start with comments from the public, but before I do that as chair, I will use the chair to welcome our new commissioner, John Baston, and unless it's on the agenda, which I don't think it is, I'm pleased to welcome John to us and to encourage his active participation in these lively discussions that we have in our Climate Action Commission. Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
The next is to approve the agenda of the evening. We have an agenda in front of us. Do we have a... No, first we're going to approve the agenda and then the meeting notes. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, Ms. Ward?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Norma has a second. Any discussion of this controversial motion? Hearing none, I'll ask the team to call for the votes.
Commissioner Baston,
Aye.
Commissioner Fogelberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Conlon,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinerman,
Aye.
Chair Morrell.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Tonight's agenda is approved. Comments from the public. I believe the public who are here, who I recognize, all three of them, know the rules. May I waive the full paragraph of the rules about the need to Ralph M. Brown Act and all the good things, and welcome you and call for comments from the public. I would remind you that these are not to be comments on tonight's agenda items, but on any other topics that we have before us this evening. Seeing no public members on their feet and at the microphone, we will proceed with the consent calendar. We have the minutes of the Climate Action Commission meeting of August 13th, 2025, ready for approval. Are there any commissioner comments on the minutes? Tom?
I just had a couple of typo fixes. See if I wrote those down. Where did I write those down? Yes. Armando Zimmerman spoke at public comment at the beginning, and the minutes that I got said Armando Zimmerman on the spoke about, and there's nothing there. So I would add the word traffic safety. That was his primary, I believe, commentary in that section of the meeting. And then later on there's the word retain, and I think the intention was to say pertain. And finally, the Environmental Protection Agency, not the Environmental Collection Agency. A collection agency is a slightly different function. We have one in our city. But I think you were referring, David, to the Environmental Protection Agency.
My former employer. Thank you.
With those corrections, I would move for the approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second for this motion?
I second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any group discussion, Commissioner, discussion of this? I see none. I think we will turn it to a vote.
Commissioner Baston,
Aye.
Commissioner Fogelberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Conlon,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinerman,
Aye.
and Chair Morrell.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you all. Next, we will have a presentation from Michael Heffler of the Rotary Club on the food gleaning project in honor of the half payments to SNAP. We welcome you to the podium, sir. Thanks for joining us, Michael, this evening.
You're welcome, David. Do I have to turn this on, or this is on?
Norma, you have Commissioner Fogelberg has her microphone on. That suggests she has something to say.
So I would like to take this opportunity and introduce Michael. Michael Heffler has been very active in our Sonoma community on many things that are environmental. And today he's going to be speaking about a program that he spearheaded at Sonoma Valley Rotary called the Food Gleaning Project. And I'm not going to say too much about that, Michael, because I want you to cover it. But I also wanted our listeners to know that he and a fellow group at Sonoma Valley Rotary developed a recycling guide for Sonoma with links to recycling over 100 household, yard, and automotive items. He's on the board of advisors for Sonoma Clean Power, and he was nominated principally due to his energy work in Hunterdon County, New Jersey. And Sonoma Clean Power is working with geothermal development companies and our California state legislator to bring additional geothermal power to Sonoma to replace the need for fossil fuels in our electricity. And I really want to thank Michael because he's so proactive on pulling projects together that serve our community. So thanks, Michael.
You're welcome, Norma. Thank you. So let me actually, I didn't start the project. A fellow named Gary Hare, who just passed away in September, actually started the whole gleaning project. And we have another fellow in Rotary that some of you might have heard of, Dub Hay, who actually is looking to come up with a way through Catalyst to make Sonoma the first food secure county in all of California. So there's a lot of work going on around food security, and a lot of money being spent and thought going into it by a lot of very bright and capable people. So, and it's it's incredibly important now, given what's happening with SNAP, that the people who are food insecure actually get fed. And there's a whole ecosystem around that, everything from Fish and SOS, who actually, and Redwood Empire Food Bank, which distribute food. Then there are other organizations like Extra Food, which we just discussed, that actually brings the food from restaurants and supermarkets rather, and people's homes to folks like SOS and Fish, so people can get that food. And also, Catalyst has bought food storage devices, basically big giant refrigerators that they put in different neighborhoods in Sonoma where people can just go in and take the food. So there's a lot going on there. And unfortunately, it's very, very much needed around here. We tend to not always see the people who are in need, and that doesn't mean they're not there, and that doesn't mean they don't need some assistance. So that all is going on. What we did at Rotary was we had, for the week, for the 12 weeks from after July 4th through the end of September, we had a booth at the Friday Farmers Market where we communicated with all the different clubs in the city to let them know we were there to bring food to the food insecure, And we ended up collecting about 1,400 pounds of food in that 12-week period. In addition, Rotary harvests or gleans from Jack London Park several tons of food every year to give to the people who need it. So all of that is going on, and it's one of those things that people don't know about because most of us prefer not to know that people are going hungry and having a hard time finding food. So it's there, it's important, and it's good to know about. I would like to, you discussed another thing that I would like to briefly bring up, which is our mayor and she's on the board of directors, I'm on the board of advisors for Sonoma Clean Power. And David and I have had conversations about doing things that actually make a big difference, something that really potentially can make a very big difference in Sonoma County is to get geothermal here. And it turns out that the Geysers is the biggest geothermal in the world, but most of it's sold to LA. And so Sonoma Clean Power wants to get companies in here to build geothermal plants that serve Sonoma and Mendocino counties. And that's a game changer because right now, while there's a lot of clean energy being developed and used, we still have evenings and things like that where we need reliable, power, and we're paying for fossil fuels to do that. And we're also paying a little bit to nuclear power to do that, but that's a totally different subject, which I'm not going to get into right now. But it turns out that geothermal is quite expensive. It's expensive to dig those holes and keep that going, but it creates a lot of jobs. And it also gives the opportunity to have a source of energy that is less expensive over decades than the combination of solar, batteries, and fossil fuels. So it's a very worthwhile thing. So I would encourage everyone to let their state legislatures know, because that this is something that we have to push forward. Otherwise, all of it will be developed in Utah and Nevada, where it's much easier to develop things like this, because California has laws that are difficult, and we also have climate groups that I got lectures from about, this isn't Texas, this is California. We just don't put things like that in there. And I said, well, you want to have clean energy, or do you want to find reasons not to do something? So I think it's really important that we I know both Chris Cabaldon, and I would imagine Curry, I forget her full name, both are on top of this, but the governor just vetoed something that was passed by the legislature because reasons that are not at all clear. So getting everyone to be aware of this topic, which is a game changer, is worthwhile doing. So thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you, Michael. We'll take questions. Thank you for both the inputs on food gleaning, such an important climate-related action, and of course, geothermal energy, a critical issue. Commissioner Fogelberg.
Michael, do you think the Gleaning project will come back next spring when the farmers market reopens?
I think we've been talking about it doing it again in the summer, the same time period we did it last year. The issue is everyone who did it, it's a lovely thing to do because you sit there at the farmer's market and people come up to you, and there are plenty of people very social in Rotary, but it was 12 weeks times 2 people. And getting 24 people out of 70 on a regular basis was a little bit of a challenge, but we made it happen. So hopefully we can have that happen again.
Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you and the Rotary for all the Rotary does here locally in support of Climate Smart Sonoma.
You're welcome.
Tom.
Michael?
Michael, we have another question
Sure.
from Vice Chair Conlon.
So wonderful to hear that Gleaning's back on the agenda here in Sonoma. I remember many years ago there was a project operated out of Trinity Church, but the pastor, I believe, who was coordinating that moved out of the community. Where are you sourcing most of the gleaned food? Are you getting that from Rotary members or from Is it open to the general public? If I have a big tangelo tree that feeds my neighborhood when it's ripe, but I oftentimes have surplus and would be happy to share it, for example.
Yeah, well, so a couple of different things, Tom. I let everyone and anyone I could possibly know about it, all the different clubs in the city and the paper and, the newspapers and such. So we got things from people with trees, people with gardens, people with pantries who wanted to give things away. So from all of those things, and the other thing I don't think I mentioned clearly enough is that the organization Extra Food has sought volunteers to do gleaning on demand for people who have trees and things that go ripe at different times of the year and want help to get them to the people who need them. So Extra Food is the company that actually picked up from us at the farmers market on Fridays and brought it to SOS and other places. So that's going on there. There have been other organizations that have done gleaning for periods of time. The real issue is it's an organizational problem more than anything else, getting the people there when they need it. And the other side of it, which is if you have a tree, and I'll pick on you because I can pick on you, but it's not personal, obviously, is, we went to a lot of different neighborhoods with people who had trees, and we said, we can come here and pick these trees whenever you want us to. Let us know when you want us to. They said, that'd be great. We'd love that. I'm still waiting for the the response to that. So it's an organizational issue because it's on demand and it's not everyone is there when you want them to be there.
Thank you. And then a follow-up on, you mentioned legislation that was vetoed by the governor. Is that the bill that Sonoma Clean Power was sponsoring?
They had one bill that went through and got approved, and I got one bill that was vetoed. And the one that went through was, and I might be a little sketchy here, but the one that went through was the one that said that for the pilot project, they didn't have to go through all of the different CEQA approvals that other projects go through, and they were looking for something similar for the production project. They did not get that. That was one that was vetoed, as I understand it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure. Anything else?
Thank you for joining us, Michael. Much appreciated. Our next item, 3.2, is a presentation from the city's public information officer, Sarah Tracy. Sarah, thank you for joining us this evening and for, of course, all the great work you are doing on the Climate Smart Sonoma Cross-Departmental Communications Campaign, and we're thrilled with the name.
Thank you. Say that 5 times fast. Chair Morrell and commissioners, thank you so much for giving me time today to talk about this public information effort that I am conducting. Of course, none of this would happen without bodies like you and the work that our Community Development Department and all of our departments are doing to meet our climate goals. Let's see. Is it on? There it goes. It's just a delay. Patience is a virtue, I keep being told. Just a little background on where Climate Smart Sonoma came from. I cannot take credit, sadly. It does belong to our wonderful mayor, Farrar Rivas, who declared 2025 the year of Climate Smart Sonoma. She did this at the annual State of the Valley and State of the City presentations that happen every year. This last year was at the Bastiani Theater, hence the dramatic background. But as you can see there, that was really the initial underpinnings of what ended up being more kind of a public information campaign. So really the aim of this is to kind of connect our community with all the city initiatives, because as you know, this type of work doesn't exist in a silo. I mean, it can, but it won't go very far. It takes cross-departmental work and effort and integration into everyday actions and all of our plans at the policy level all the way through to action. So this was a concept of a way to acknowledge all the things that fall under that umbrella, which is quite a lot, a little overwhelming. If you really look at all the work that's really being done and when you really start looking through a climate action and resilience lens, how much is really happening, even if it's not necessarily something that you're directly aware of. So the purpose of course, is to always, as all public information efforts is to build awareness, hopefully get some community engagement, putting information out there in a different context, things that people wouldn't necessarily make a connection with being a climate action goal, or other types of resiliency efforts. It gives us kind of a framework to do that. Patience. So Climate Smart Sonoma. Just also should mention that as with all city public information, we have a very, very small budget for some things like boosted posts, but we do not have a marketing budget or anything like that. We do all of that in-house. And we use the channels that we have. Thankfully, people want to get information from us. They like to hear from us. So we use our newsletters, our website, social media networks, and of course, we have a really lovely local paper. We're very fortunate to still have one that often picks up information like this and then amplifies it for us. So that's, thank you, Sonoma Index Tribune, and Emma specifically. So as I mentioned, these types of things can't exist in a silo. So I want to really point out this has been integrated into departments. This isn't every department and division out there, but they're kind of key partners in this. Those departments do a lot of policy work. They have a lot of components. They're doing all sorts of work on every level that relates to being climate smart. I wanted to give you kind of an example. We obviously have a lot of reasons why it matters. This is no new information to you. I know you know why it matters from a global perspective and a local perspective, but we do want to just emphasize this isn't new for us. We've had a climate emergency declaration for a number of years. The city has been doing low-level work consistently for a very long time. Before this body was formed out of some of those climate goals and initiatives. So there's always been work going. This is just a way to kind of show and exemplify how that's been happening. Now, something that has been in the public information world and in the city world, integration of climate change into various components of our work. The conversation has really evolved a lot. One example I'm going to use that will help, because this is one of those things that maybe might go a little bit unnoticed, but was notable for those of us in emergency management. We're doing a hazard mitigation plan update. There's a meeting on Thursday. You should come to it at 5:30 at the fire station. I know Jennifer will be there. Will you be there? We're trying to beat Santa Rosa. They had 10 people come to their meeting, so I put it out to you. The gauntlet has been thrown. An example about integration of climate goals and climate change and just acknowledgement of climate change and the impacts it's having across the board. This plan is a FEMA plan. We have a very specific framework for building this plan. It's a multi-jurisdictional plan. The county's leading the effort. It's huge. If you're looking for something to read tonight, it's only like 1,600 pages total. It's very, very long. The city annex is not that long. You can do that before Thursday, so hop to it. But with the hazard mitigation plan update this year, oops, I'm going to back up just one minute. Sorry, everybody. Is that me? She's trying to move me along. I do not have a lack for words. So with the hazard mitigation plan, what you do is you have hazards of severity. So different regions have different hazards that impact your area, right? So for every region, there's a handful that you have to do, the mitigation plan. Then you create mitigation actions to address those potential hazards. So hazards you are probably familiar with: earthquake, fire, floods, the kind of the top tier hazards, I would call it. In past years for this plan, and it's a requirement by FEMA, climate change was a separate hazard, completely separate. So you were treating it separately, you were causing mitigation separately. Those of us and you were all thinking, is a separate hazard? Like, how can you mitigate climate without thinking about how you're doing wouldn't all the mitigation actions kind of relate? And that's finally what they came to as well. So instead of being a separate hazard, this year it was integrated into all of the hazards. So every mitigation action and every hazard that we were responding to or making mitigation plans for, every one of them now has a line. How is climate change impacting this? How are you, it's integrated. It's just a completely, it seems like it makes a lot of sense now, but instead of just putting it separately, treating it like a separate thing, it's really starting to be incorporated. Now I'll move on to the next slide. So 1 month in, this is a 3-month campaign built on SMART goals. I mean, we don't have endless resources, sadly. We could probably do a lot more with this, but the commitment is at least 1 news post a month, at least 1 social media post a week for the next 3 months. And then we created a special website for it just to kind of consolidate the information, not to duplicate the information that's on the climate action sustainability pages. There's a lot of really important and good work that's done into that. This is just really to kind of capture this particular effort. So you probably are familiar with our distribution channels, but our website, sonomacity.org, is our main channel. We have a news feed feature on that, so any new news kind of gets put into the feed. And then that information is used to build our newsletters, which go out generally every couple of weeks, depending on where city council meetings fall. So it's automatically included in that. Anybody who is signed up to receive climate action and sustainability news specifically, which is a feature we have on our website, that anytime something posts, you get an automatic email sent to your address that gives you the information without you having to look for it. We also, of course, have Nextdoor and Facebook and Instagram, and it's all included on there as well. So what's next? 'Tis the season, which a lot of efforts that we tend to do annually anyway are going to be also included in this. It's a great way to be able to amplify some of our seasonal messaging that we have. We'll definitely be focusing on the reuse awareness campaign that the Reuse Alliance has so graciously put together to share. So I'm very excited to get that in the works. There's also, of course, the Compost at Sonoma, which was a little bit of an offshoot of the Sort at Sonoma campaign from a while back that you may remember, to help people properly sort their waste. We tend to do a seasonal because during this time of year, leaves are a big topic. So making sure people are composting those, making sure that all these holiday gatherings, if they're not giving their extra food to people who can actually eat it, that they are putting the pieces that belong in the compost or going in the compost, and being aware of how much really can go in there, because as you know, a lot more than most people realize. We also have the Chamber, of course, does a Shop Local campaign every year for lots of good reasons, but it has a huge climate impacts, as you probably know, not just to local economy, but less miles traveled and all those things. So we have a Shop Sonoma, Shop Local campaign. We'll be, of course, tying that in. And then I understand you all are updating some strategies. So all the work that you're doing on this body also will be featured in that. And of course, integration with our existing resources. A lot of really good work has already gone into identifying those actions, tools, resources for people to be able to take action themselves. It's just a matter of making them more aware of it. So those would be included. So next steps, short-term goals for me, I'll be continuing the effort. One thing I will note is that, of course, the minute I start and you start writing, you realize there's 5 or 6 things that weren't on my initial outline that fit very neatly in there, and now I'm trying to feature those as well. So I'm finding it's growing a little bit in terms of its scope, but I will be keeping up that effort. And then, of course, aligning those efforts with what you all are doing on the dais through the course of the year, and including other policy actions. Obviously, there's lots of work going on in community development that's somehow also related to that. And then how you can support amplification. Just like I used to work at the Visitors Bureau, and word of mouth always was the way everybody heard about Sonoma Valley or where to go. That's why Visitors Bureau was good because it felt like they were getting it from a person. The city can put out information all day, every day, but until somebody else amplifies it, shares it, lets somebody else know, they'd much rather get it from somebody they know than their local government. I don't understand that. I think that everybody knows that we have the best of intentions, but I do know that it does greatly benefit from amplification from trusted sources like yourselves. And with that, I will thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you, but also to do this meaningful work. It's a nice thing to be able to put my arms around personally, and I would be so happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Sarah, and articulate and encouraging and exciting as always in your presentations. Commissioner comments? I have a number of comments that I'll hold until
Okay.
after other commissioners. Go ahead, Norma.
So did I hear initially that this, would you call it an initiative?
I think that it amplifies initiatives that are happening. I think that I would really put it in the public information sphere. That's my arena. So public information is a little different for those of you who may or may not know. A lot of times people use the term like marketing or campaign, but in public information, it really is more about providing the information to the public, making it available, and not necessarily having a narrative or like a journalist would. It does have a little bit of fine line. So I think that sometimes we refer to it at things as initiatives because that's how we speak inside of government offices, but I wouldn't couch it as an initiative per se. I think the Climate Smart Sonoma is certainly part of an initiative to meet our climate goals and to change how we're talking about them and how we're integrating them. But the campaign, this kind of effort itself, I wouldn't dare think of it as an initiative. I don't think it's quite that meets that level personally, but I hope that answers your question.
Actually, my question follows.
Oh.
So, thank you. So did I hear you say it has an end date, like 3 or 4 months?
So this initially, just with the way our time is allocated, this was intended for this 3 months. This is what we're doing now. The website's not going away. This channel is not going away. It's something that can continue, but this was kind of built out for the first 3 months as kind of any communication plan does. There's, it's not just endless. But we do already have a channel for climate action and sustainability. There may be a way to integrate that. That's a conversation we could certainly have.
Because as we look at our work and we want to amplify it, is it best to amplify it under Climate Smart Sonoma or Climate Action Commission? And how do we know what's the best way
Well,
to
fortunately,
do that?
we're not a big city, so we don't have that many channels. But I think that there's a way to integrate all those things. So we have the kind of climate action sustainability news feed
Right.
is not exclusively for the commission. It's kind of also broad, right? This is more of a, it has a little logo. It's got a little bit more of a feel to it like a marketing campaign that certainly could, if it gets traction, live on. It was really born, though, out of the mayor's declaration for the year. So that's why the now last 3 months of her tenure as mayor, it really wanted to make an extra emphasis about amplifying what the information was about the climate smart concept. So that's why
Okay.
where it
Because
fits.
I can see projects that are happening in Sonoma, like what Michael talked about, the Gleaning project, actually being amplified in this way. And other projects that I know are coming down the pike. So
So I know you are also on an ad hoc that I've worked with a little bit, so I'll just back up a little bit on.
Yeah.
There is a process that we had in place, which is still open to the public, pardon me, I forget the name, how you phrased the name of your ad hoc. I don't know. Outreach.
Education and outreach, the E&O ad hoc.
Thank you, appreciate that. There is an avenue for that where commissioner-led communications or information can go through a process where you submit it to our subject matter experts, and then it would come to me to be able to vet. And there is a little bit of a filter just because sometimes the city newsletter, we have to be careful not to step over into the line of journalism sometimes. Sharing resources and those things usually fit very neatly in there. There's always some small print in there. But there is that process, and would be, of course, that line is still open.
Thank you.
Other commissioner comments or questions? Tom?
Thank you. I've got as you might expect, a bunch of questions, but because this is really the first time I'm seeing any of this come together. I didn't participate in the ad hoc, and the first question really goes to this is a city-owned logo, correct? So it's not at the discretion for Michael to just grab it and use it in Rotary, or for me to grab it and
If he
use
knows
it.
how to screen grab, I'm not sure if I can totally answer. No, I wouldn't say we've trademarked it, but if someone wanted to use it, or if it wanted to live on, that has happened, not necessarily with city things, but obviously we have a number of other types of information and logos that we've created in-house that we are happy to have people use. So, sky's the limit. Tom, tell me, what do you have in mind?
Well, that's why I think about it, because
Yeah.
I've actually created Energy Smart as a trademark brand for a while, and there are different things when you do control what it means. If it becomes a certified mark, becomes a professional certification in our case, and it eventually spawned an entire industry of real estate professionals who want that designation as part of their professional credentialing. The way this has kind of come together, it strikes me as being a little bit more limited in its scope and probably its utility. The things I'm concerned about is that it doesn't mean very much, and that it could then undermine broader activities of the commission or of the state and other entities that are trying to really move the needle. So I just want, without getting any more detail, I encourage you all to be cautious about the use of the mark, and to not, to try and have it meaningful, keep it as meaningful as possible. It does seem to me focused on consumer behavior. It's an encouragement for people to take climate smart actions. Is that a fair statement? Or is it more business oriented?
That's not how I was envisioning it. Certainly there's a component to that, and the months that it's running clearly are a consumer season. I will just, yes,
Right.
You're right. There's a definite connection these times of year. Also just trying to, with the way the public is receiving information, getting in there. But we have also focused, like I mentioned, the hazard mitigation plan update, the tree inventory, the fleet RFP for fleet assessment for public works. There's a number of real foundational information that's in there. We've obviously have general plan update coming up. There's a lot
Right.
of real content.
And our strategy, which is in the packet tonight, quite a long document, lots and lots of detailed
Yes.
things in there. So is there any plan to map between what you're doing with this campaign, this brand, and our existing climate strategy? Is that something the ad hoc is reflected on?
I think that would be something that you all would need to discuss as a commission. So this was born out of a declaration by the mayor. I certainly work in the city manager's office. That's my charge, and I'm a public information officer. And so there is always a desire whenever there is a opportunity to amplify what a mayor is focused on, to do that. So that was really the focus from my point. But you make some really excellent points, and I think that there absolutely could be an expansion.
Yeah, and so then, just
continuation.
without going further, in transportation, the thing that jumps out at me is active transportation and transit are not currently mentioned in the themes, the key themes.
I apologize for that. I don't put everything on the slides, and I think the document that you were given was a brief outline, but actually it did get pointed out in the last article.
And I do see
because-
bicycle in here in this graphic in front of us, and that's appreciated and acknowledged.
Yeah,
that that's there.
the bike boulevard and the work that we're doing on West Main Street, they just pulled a new one, obviously, from 3rd Street to get the bike. So
Tremendous
there's
amount of
lots
work
of,
going on
yeah,
there now, right?
there's a lot of work. That's, I think, what I was saying, where you start looking back and it's like, the other part is there's so much and you could try to make it so perfect and try to like make it meaningful.
Absolutely.
Then it never happens. And then what good is it?
So
So
thank you
it
for
it
answering
is
my
a little bit of a
questions.
struggle. Yeah. No, I think it's all very good points.
Excellent. Other commissioner comments, questions, support? I have a number of comments. Sarah, thank you for an excellent presentation. I would start with the origin of the term, which I really love. I was sort of stunned and thrilled that Patricia came up with this both in New York and now at home. This term initially arose as part of this commission's effort jointly with the Sonoma Chamber of Commerce. We had 3 commissioners, because it's an ad hoc out of 7, and 3 members appointed by the chamber from the local business community. And we've had many months of discussion of climate-smart tourist destination, how to encourage visitors. Tim's trying to get me to say visitor instead of tourist, I know.
Indeed. That's
Indeed.
I would have told you the
Indeed.
same when I
And
was
I
there.
slip sometimes, but I'm learning. And so we've had extensive discussions about Sonoma as a climate-smart tourist destination. Our good friend, the mayor, who's probably out there in the ether this evening watching, because she usually is, hello, Patricia, picked up on the name there, and I'm thrilled she's brought it to the city in this way. Some of the things that fit under this rubric from the commission's point of view that have emerged out of our discussions jointly with the 3 chamber members in a joint effort between kind of the environmental climate gang and the economic gang. And I'll say more about this particular one later this evening, an EV shuttle for both tourists and residents. Green links, green connections, green whatever the noun should be, and a lot of discussion in this commission and elsewhere about that. Trees, which Sarah has mentioned, and all of the impact of that on our climate smart city. Organics management, and a number of us in the commission have been talking about a town hall in 2026 to further energize residents on organics management. Fits beautifully within climate smart Sonoma. The whole business role, the interface with the chamber and the business community in being climate smart businesses in climate smart Sonoma. Rainwater capture and the possibility that the city corporation yard, large building, we already have a concept of a design to set the stage for the most successful rainwater capture anywhere in Sonoma County. That design is already conceptualized out on 8th Street East. A range of resident actions, and the challenge we in the E&O and we in this commission have to get our 10,000 residents fully engaged in the business of Climate Smart Sonoma on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and integrating Climate Smart Sonoma with our new general plan update. Part of that, of course, is the ongoing communication through KSBY. So we encourage you, as in your role at the city, and us on the commission, and Ronnie, who's hiding behind a wall right over here, to integrate our efforts on climate smart communication throughout. Thank you for what you're doing, and it's only a piece of this broader effort that this commission is happy to help lead with the city.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do we have any public comments on this important topic this evening from the large crowd of public participants here this evening? Michael and Richard. Philip has identified a couple of flappers in the back. Thank you, Philip. Oh, if not, we'll move on. But Sarah, again, thank you for all that you and the city manager and the team are doing in this regard. We love it. To the podium, please. Not from there, Michael. You got to get up.
Jeez, David. So I'm just curious there, because these kind of projects have a way of just over time being invisibilized, I guess is the way, and you're a communications person who understand that problem. If you look forward and say, okay, I've got this period where I'm working on this, a year from now, what do I want people to remember or feel that they've gotten some benefit from this? What would that be?
I hate to say, I think our mayor would probably be the person who should be answering that. I am the executor, but I know that there is obviously, and frankly, this commission as well. You've heard from if there's a desire for a life beyond. Sometimes you create things out of necessity, and you need to jumpstart, and sometimes they take off. Sometimes great ideas come up. Like, I don't know, maybe there's a climate smart Sonoma using the logo for our hospitality partners the way we used to do the green business program. Maybe there's kind of as things have developed, obviously, everything was green for a while. That was the big topic, right? That maybe there is a life. I, of course, personally have lots of dreams with how far we could get in the next year. Of course, there's a lot of uncertainty. Is that the year of the word of the year, on how far we can reach with the support networks that we have or not. But I certainly hope it lives. And I'm guessing with the support of the folks on this dais that it might just have a chance.
My phrase was a little bit different.
More nuanced. I missed it.
It was, a year has gone by. It's November 2026, and someone says, oh yeah, I remember Climate Smart Sonoma, it did.
Yeah, well, that is the thing. It wasn't exactly intended to be a movement. It's intended to help create an umbrella to share a story that we have. So it wasn't necessarily intended to be what David has suggested, and even Tom suggested, with the use of logos and things that can be have a life and really be a true campaign or initiative, as we were kind of talking about earlier. It was really just a way to kind of be able to take all the work that's being done and put it in this lens so that we can kind of share that information during this time. That's my perspective. And maybe it'll be more than that. I don't know. We'll see. I have a lot of jobs right now. This might.
Well, the Climate Commission is certainly in sync with the city of Sonoma's newly articulated Climate Smart Sonoma energized effort. And we are here for more than 3 months. God knows some of us have been here for years on this whole game, but Tom and I go back to several preceding commissions and 2030 is closer than it used to be. And we still believe in that target, and we frankly still have a long way to go on GHG emissions, and particularly VMT from vehicles. So there's a lot of work to be done to turn the framework of Climate Smart Sonoma into something approaching a reality.
Indeed. Well, thank you. And I am going to insist that you take one of these. And there actually are a lot of related to what you all are working on. This is a document that I think you would have some valuable insight in. You don't have to attend the meeting, but this also has a QR code to be able to just make comments on a draft like you would. So I've switched hats. I don't know if you saw that. I was so sneaky. But thank you again for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.
And thank you for an excellent presentation.
And I'll just take this
Tom,
opportunity to
yes.
add that in addition to the countywide multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan update, the Valley of the Moon Water District is also doing in their own, and they will be having a meeting, I think it's a Thursday, 2 more weeks from now, their first meeting of that. And I don't know why they didn't decide to jump on board. Probably somebody could answer that.
Any other commissioner comments before we move on a little further? And I believe we're ready for,
I did have one question.
yes, John, jump in.
For Sarah, and I doubt that I will make the meeting on Thursday, but I was interested in the hazard mitigation meeting, and if FEMA does recognize climate change as a hazard, Do you know that?
So
you
it's
said
been
there was a
it's been
framework.
included in hazard mitigation plans. I'm not going to be able to get you the year because in my head it's not going. But the last version that we did, every 5 years you update a hazard mitigation plan. I was involved peripherally in the last update, and that's when I was saying the changeover from the 5 years ago when it was a separate hazard to now being integrated. It's a FEMA document. I mean, we're following their framework. It's a requirement from FEMA. There is a lot unknown. I won't belabor you, but in the emergency planning and response world and in all of our plans that rely very heavily on FEMA, and there are questions. Currently, we're moving forward with the framework, even though we're unsure of funding mechanisms, which is what traditionally this particular plan is meant to help us secure. So one of the reasons you do a hazard mitigation plan, you identify mitigation efforts, is because then they're eligible for certain types of funding, which may or may not be there any longer. So it's, what did I say about uncertainty? The year, word of the year. But it's still important work. A lot of them we are actually already moving forward on. There's tree canopy discussions. There's all sorts of making sure that when people are doing their defensible space, that they're considering soil erosion issues and ecological issues that can be caused by too much or too little. So all of those things are there. But I don't know if that answers it directly because I don't have a lot of specific answers for FEMA. But the government and FEMA are always the same thing. It's kind of like insurance companies recognized, obviously, that we were seeing impacts from climate change affect hazards. I think that the data is driving that. And so that's why I think we're seeing it in the plans, but I can't answer specifically for them clearly, but that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Other commissioner comments, questions? Thank you, Sarah. Excellent as always. I think we're ready to move on to number 3.3. That, as the agenda says, we're going to receive a presentation on the city's process for reviewing and approving electric vehicle EV charger installations here in Climate Smart, Sonoma.
Yeah, good evening, commissioners. I'm Jacob Dunn, and we'll be talking to you about the electric vehicle charger installation process that we have here in the city. It's requested at the last meeting, so I went through and kind of broke down the kind of what goes into that and the cost behind it. So with help from Hannah as well, who's a building permit tech, that'll be included in this presentation as well. So we're going to go over a little bit of that current process as well as the updated process. It'll include the permit type, the submittal requirements, how that review goes, the timeline behind it, and then the cost of it. So to go into what our current process is, what it is, the permit type is a limited scope building permit. The submittal items with that include a site plan, which shows the location of the EV charger, a form that includes the construction and demo debris, the charger specifications, which need to be provided to us, as well as a subcontractors list. The review includes a site plan review. This is from both planning and building. In the past, we've reviewed the location of it, and then with the updated expedited permitting for electric vehicle charging stations, which was adopted, I forget what year, but with that, we are developing this new process. So we don't currently have a checklist, and so that's part of why this new process is being developed, so it helps us create a better criteria for what needs to be met in order to be able to have the charger installed. And some of that timeline for getting those chargers installed has been held up because of that site plan review and location, checking the locations and whatnot. So that timeline with the current process has looked like 5 to 10 business days for comments and corrections, about 2 to 5 business days to verify the business licenses and fees. And then after that, the permit's automatically issued after they pay. And then there's a final inspection, which can be done at any time after they've installed the EV charger. So overall, that's taken approximately 30 days for issuance. And then the final inspection is always up to the builder for installation. So sometimes that changes the timeline for when we have a final. The fees associated with that currently totals around $300 to $400. Breaking that down, we look at the initial deposit payments, which includes a permit processing fee of $61, training certification fee of $11, a deposit for inspection and review, which is $100, technology fee which is $48, and then a contractor business license tax. That's only if the contractor is the one that applies for the permit, and that would be $5. It's $1 per every $1,000 evaluation. And so with these building permit fees that you see here, there's the green fee, that's $1, the inspection fee, that's $88, and then the building plan check and planning plan check fees, which range. And so the deposit goes into each of those fees that you see there for the inspection, the building plan check, and the planning plan check. But if they go over the cost for the 88 plus the plan checks, then that deposit, they have to pay more about that deposit. So going into the updated process, we're now going to be doing express building permits for EV chargers. The submittal items will be the same, but there'll be a slight difference. So it'll be a site plan, construction and demo debris form, subcontractors list, and then instead the specifications will be on the charger on site, so rather than submitted to the department. Allowing those specifications to be listed on site makes it a little bit more feasible for someone to choose what brand or type of charger they want to install, and as long as they meet the same electrical needs. So that review, basically that checklist will act as the review. They have to complete the items on the checklist in order to be able to apply for the permit and for it to be accepted, and so that it can be approved. And that kind of shortens that timeline and streamlines it there. So that timeline will look like about 2 business days. So that'll include the fees, which will automatically be invoiced after the checklist items have been completed when they apply. The auto issuance will happen after they pay, and then inspection will still happen after installation. So it'll be up to the builder to contact the department to request an inspection. And looking at the fees, it's a reduced fee, so it's going to be about $214 now. There's a green fee of $1, the contractor business license of $5 still, the inspection fee for $88, and the permit processing fee for $61, a technology fee of $48, and then the training and certification fee of $11. And so there's a reduction in cost, and then a streamlined permitting process now with this updated process. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward as to what needs to be done and how that checklist is going to work. It's supposed to make it a lot easier on contractors being able to go out, get an EV charger installed. And based on the updated code, there's a little bit more leniency as to location and whatnot for installing those. But if there's any other questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, I have a question.
Philip, please.
What size unit? Does this apply to all units, homeowners units, business units? Same
Yes.
thing, same fees for everybody?
This will be for EV charger installation on all.
Okay, so
properties.
if I want to put a unit in my house, it's going to cost me just as much as if I put it in,
That's
This
correct.
is specifically
Okay.
for residential.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, this process is for residential specifically.
This is residential.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But
Thanks, Hannah.
residential process, not a commercial open to the public.
Correct.
Is this per unit or is it for the entire installation?
The express is going to be limited to the installation of 1 EV charger per express application.
Does it matter what the power of the charger is and what it accommodates?
Yeah, it does. When the applicant walks through the express application online, there's a series of drop downs, and if the power supply, if there's issues with that, that is something that is concerning that we'll need to look at from the building perspective for review. Then they're going to be triggered to do limited scope. But as far as most of the straightforward residential, single family or condo EV chargers that are installed, they fall within that level 1 category.
And was there thought given to the fact that right now it's becoming increasingly popular to give a charger with your purchase of the car now because we're not funding as many as we used to 2 years ago. Has there been given much thought as to ways to encourage people to install it instead of charging a couple $100? Because they're getting the units now from the car manufacturer. They have to come to you and apply for a permit and spend a couple $100. Is there any way that you've thought about encouraging people to install the units with a different, maybe not even a permit requirement, but some basics. What do you think about that?
So that's a question that will be directed to the director as well as the building official, chief building official. So in terms of consideration for that, I'll let
So city
Jennifer talk about it.
council determines all fees for everything that gets charged in the city. We are undergoing so this is our current way of processing projects and our current fee schedule. And these are, so like an inspection fee, because somebody's going out there, we need to pay them. The business tax is a tax. I can't take that away. Don't know what the green, can you go back, please? Yeah, thanks. I don't know what the green fee is.
I'll pay that extra piece.
Yeah, the permit processing fee, that's something that's flexible. The technology fee, we're changing that because it's a flat fee. We're going to change it to a percentage in this proposed new approach.
That's the software vendor's license fee for the permitting software?
The technology fee will be a percentage of the total cost of the permit, is how we're proposing to move forward. And that is the intent, is to cover all of our software that is associated with permits. Training and certification fee is AB 717, so I don't have that ability either. So there's certain things that it would require us not issuing a permit at all, but we need to install. We need to make sure that they are actually done correctly, right? And we need to make sure that they have the correct power source and all that fun stuff, because we don't want anything fire-wise to happen or on these sites. But when it comes to the fee itself and what would be charged, what we do is what we'll present to city council is, here's how much it cost us to do this. City council, do you want us to have 100% cost recovery, or do you want to adjust that cost recovery? So those inspection fee and that permit processing fee is the fee in which they're going to adjust to drop down to whatever that cost recovery based on policy. Like, what is it that they want to incentivize? So it could be that we identify certain fees that we charge. Hey, city council, we recommend that you incentivize this more. So that will be coming in the late winter on a lot of different, all fees actually in the entire city. We're doing that right now with Matrix. So that is our opportunity at that point to change the fee. Long-winded answer to the question.
It depends on, maybe you don't want to, maybe just turn it off. So it depends on the power that you're bringing to the unit. And to me, there's a big difference between plugging it in and sticking the unit on the wall and actually wiring it to be a higher speed. And what the units are that are now being given away are all those home units where they basically use existing plugs and they charge overnight.
And we aren't going to go and say, hey, you're not allowed to do this, because we term these plug and plays. So we have like equipment change outs and like restaurants and things like that. As long as the power source can handle, we call it a plug and play. You can just move that equipment in and plug it in. You don't need to get a permit for it.
Okay, so it's good.
It's just it comes down to we have a lot of older homes, right? They're underserviced, and now we're plugging everything under the sun into that service. And we don't want it to zap. We don't want all those fun things that happen with the underserviced. But that's the reason why, and I think we could always add note to the application that this is for these types of applications where we're talking about power supply modifications too, and that it's not
I like that.
a plug and play
Yeah.
situation.
Other commissioner comments on this? Is there a public comment? Dr. Heffler? Please, one at council.
So one thing that you might be aware of already, I don't know, but if you're looking at, collecting fees and things like that, Sonoma Clean Power actually has a program called EV Ready, where people who have chargers can get money back by using them in a way that's, they get a lot of from solar basically. So it's a cheaper way of getting power. So you might just be, part of this program might be to make the customers aware of that, particularly if they're paying a fee, that there's ways of getting some of that money back, or maybe all of that money back.
Thank you. Other comments, Tom?
I just want to thank staff for the good work on this. I know that this is sometimes a little tedious thing, but we're getting the fees down, and it sounds like the process is improving on your end as well. So congratulations and good luck with the rest of it.
Other comments, John?
I'm not sure if this is appropriate to bring it up right now, but I don't, has it ever been recognized that there's some barriers to installation in multifamily dwellings? And that, I know I live in a condo place and there's no obvious way to get power out to where we can charge cars, even if you're willing to install it. So, and I spent a lot of time walking my dog in other condo communities, and I hardly see any electric cars there because it's just too hard for people to figure out how to charge them.
Yeah, so to that point, we talked about this at the last meeting. We're participating in some collaborative work right now with the county, as well as with a program called Charging Smart. Through those programs and through that collaboration, we're finding out about more programs and information that we can provide to the public on helping them with getting power output to different locations and trying to be more integrated with what the feasibility of that is. So we have a website for the Climate Action Commission, which includes transportation, and in that section there, I've been working on trying to update that page so that we can add more information, like to your point, basically. And so the hope is that we can give more detailed information to the public that makes them feel like there's an opportunity there to get power output. And as I gather more information, I'm going to try to keep making that available. So whenever these programs and whenever these collaborative opportunities come up, we're gonna keep pushing for that. So.
And let me echo what Tom said too. It's great that you put this together. Thanks a lot. We got some information about all these huge fees that apparently are not quite true. So it's nice to know.
There's different instances. So as we were noting before, that was a special case where similar situation, it's a condo complex, right? And so how do I bring a line from my condo to my parking space? And so that's where the cost was coming in, is more of back and forth review time and the cost of that, of needing to trench a line to bring it down and making sure there was HOA approval to allow her to install in front of her space. We are working with, my hope is also that, if there's rebates and things, that we can put them up there, so people are aware. Also to, as grants come available, so I know I just approved a couple in, oh my gosh, and a bank, and a banking, charging bank at one of our affordable housing complexes. They had received a grant and they really needed to act on it fast, and so we were working fast to identify, can I take up a parking space to now install this new charging bank and get everything going. So we're working and trying to help identify and make those connections. So as you guys identify things too, that's where Jacob would like to put it on, and our new sustainability coordinator will also have more time to start looking at those things too.
I would thank the city staff for this excellent input on an important issue, and I would encourage the city to keep looking more broadly beyond these individual chargers into initiatives for Climate Smart Sonoma to have broader programs of public charging. We've had opportunities in the past that haven't quite met city needs for multiple chargers to be installed in public locations. And I believe from this commission's point of view, if I took a vote, I'd hope I'd get more than a majority, that we urge the city strongly to look for opportunities and seek opportunities for public charging sites to come in beyond what we have now. There are individual oil companies that have begun to change their gas stations into all EV charging, and there could be more opportunities for initiatives. And so thanks for looking in detail at this excellent effort on the private chargers, individual homeowner chargers, but it's time to bring in more public chargers, in my opinion, and I bet I would get a vote if I went to a vote.
Well, I think
Phil.
there's a considerable pushback now on electric chargers around the country, but in China now, over half the cars that are sold are electric cars, which means it sounds to me like that's where we're going to be anyway, regardless of what the federal government wants us, where they want us to drill, baby, drill. But
It's our chance to take the initiative when the federal government is less than encouraging from certain political perspectives
So I
that
think
I might
because-
personally share.
because of the quantity of cars that are going to be electric in the future, it's going to force the technology to be accepted in the United States. So
And-
we shouldn't give up on that, and we should.
And you and I have had good communications at the Bank of America.
That's right. We've had
charging
quality
our
time.
cars.
Two of us have
Quality
had quality
time.
time charging our cars together. So it's a real benefit. We should announce when we're going to be there if other people want to join us.
Oh, John,
At one point, I heard that the Teslas are going to be made chargers into more like a universal charging. Is there still a plan for
Well,
that?
there's a difference. There have been a couple electric manufacturers who've negotiated with Tesla, and they've come up with an adapter to use Tesla, but the problem is they're charging for the adapter, and it's a lot of money, because Elon doesn't want to give up the technology for free.
and my daughter with a new Volvo EV has the adapter, and me with the Volkswagen EV has no adapter, so it's not universal yet.
It's on the car company. For example, I have a Lucid, and they have a deal, but I have to pay for it. It's several $100s to buy.
It's not possible that the city over at the community center could make the adapters available
There
for
was a
people.
time where not only they made adapters available for other things, but they actually, Sonoma County gave people chargers. That was only a few years ago.
Looking away, rather than to my right from Commissioner Baston, maybe PG&E could give the city a grant for an adapter.
FYI, I work for PG&E.
Do you think? You knew I'd do it before we were over tonight, but it was the right time to do it. We would love that kind of a grant from PG&E to the Climate Smart Sonoma City. I think, is there any other public comment on this agenda item of the dozens of public members? So let us then move on. 3.4. This is the General Plan Ad Hoc Committee comments on the General Plan element draft information. Jennifer, is this you or Jacob in the lead on this? Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Chair. We are going to start with the utilities for tonight. So we have two items to talk about in the General Plan Ad Hoc Committee. The first is the utilities section. So this element is actually a required element. of the general plan. So the ad hoc committee has reviewed this, provided their comments. So hopefully you all looked at them. I just realized it's so simple. There we go. And with that, there's some changes, as always. In typical fashion, when I do this, I do it pretty fast because there's a lot to it. This one's 16 pages long. So just a refresher, what I'll do is I'll go to each section and then each goal. If you have any comments, questions, that is the time in which to raise it, when I am in that section.
Can I raise a comment?
Yep.
The only thing worse than moving to the end is being called Microsoft Office user.
You know, it
That's
happens.
my name on this. Those are my comments. And Microsoft, I am Microsoft Office user. That's my nickname. You thought it was Nick. You thought my nickname.
And the red elements are the inputs from the ad hoc members,
And
I believe.
Oh,
Is that right?
how did that happen?
Oh,
I'm
Look
promise
here,
you,
you've been
I'm a
upgraded.
Microsoft Office user. And my main comment was that the proposed plan we got did not talk about electricity. And to me, the whole section ought to be added on electricity, and I made some comments in here about batteries and electricity, and I don't know why that was, that it was ignored, but it's kind of important and kind of a utility. Okay, sorry, thank you. I'm in a bad mood today.
I'm sorry. Any other comments from the ad hoc committee before we start?
well, I think that's me, and I see a lot of red ink in here, and I suspect I'm responsible for some of it. But it's obviously a very, very important piece of the general plan update that needs to be consistent with the views and the encouragement of the City of Sonoma Climate Action Commission. So we're certainly glad we've had an opportunity on the part of the ad hoc to make inputs, and other members tonight certainly should feel free to do so.
So-
I had a comment, if I may, at this time.
Yeah.
So to Philip's question about electricity being missing, I believe I was on a couple of different webinars today, but I believe it was a discussion between CARB and others that were associated with the Cap and Invest, Cap and something. Used to be called Cap and Trade, but the governor in his wisdom has renamed it to keep us all guessing. There was a mention of a new requirement recently passed by the legislature requiring energy planning, decarbonization, I think maybe even electricity specifically, in upcoming general plan updates. And I don't think it would be bearing on the city if it were passed, and if we get our general plan done right away. But it might be worth looking at that legislation, and I didn't write the number of the bill down, but it's worth asking the consultant if they have looked at recent state legislation in terms of energy-related general plan requirements. I think it probably does become mandatory on general plans after a certain date certain.
So if it was just approved in October, that means that it'll pop up actually in the law itself, and luckily the general plan law is one section. It's great. So we're not searching everywhere for it.
Yeah.
So it should pop up and be able to be visible, but we can also look at like Cal Cities and see if they made note of it. I've been so ingrained in the housing bills that I haven't really looked at anybody else
Yeah.
right now.
So my recommendation, though, is even if it is not an obligation of the city to comply with this new law, that it probably does behoove us to be anticipatory of
Yes,
whatever
because
it
then
would
that
be.
means I would have to amend it in the next 20 years
Yes.
by whenever that due date is.
And it, just because we want to be known as a climate smart city and that we're thinking about these things in advance. And so
Okay.
That was my recommendation on that. And also, I didn't see, Philip mentioned electricity, but I didn't see natural gas and the anticipated phase out of natural gas in our community. And strikes me that's a pretty important component of state law that descends down to us here as well. And so that's probably something that needs some attention in this element.
Okay. Energy. Okay, so the first section is introduction, and as always, it just kind of provides that overview and what are those different components of this element. Any comments?
Yes. Yes. Mr. AI tells me that it is required in the next plan, and that the elements include expanding EV charging and addressing disadvantaged communities. These are going to be required according to Mr. AI.
Does it say the bill number?
Yeah, it's SB 100 and AB 39. AB 39 is the Local Electrification Planning Act.
AB 39?
AB 39.
I'm not sure I would trust that artificial
I'm
citation.
just writing notes. You can look them up.
He obviously knows better than I, but.
No, I think the bill that I'm referring to is a very recent bill that passed in the last legislative session, and it's very specific to general plan elements.
And small businesses, equitable access to zero emission technologies. That's, again, this is AI. I read a brief the other day from a lawyer. I know it came from AI. There were no, this is wrong. But, you know, I don't know. I'm just reading you what I've got tonight.
Sounds good. All right, any other comments, thoughts, feelings on the introduction? Okay, moving on to contents. This is the summary of the different goals. And the with that,
Do we have the opportunity to take this XXX idea and turn it into language? Who's got the lead to do that? Is that within city staff to take that comment?
yeah, that's
And
my
That's on your
that's
plate.
on my role.
It's
and
on your plate, yes,
I
ma'am.
need to. You guys have provided me input. If there's other words that you want to add to this, then this is our time to talk about that. But
Microsoft
not
user recommends
okay.
that you do UPS 2 as if it were addressing electricity services. In other words, a lot of what you say in goal 2
yeah.
can you just replace the word electricity with that. That's Microsoft user comment.
Okay.
And,
Thank
and
you,
that,
Mr. User.
I have an appendage to Microsoft User,
Okay.
and that is that I noticed in both the water, well, primarily in the water section, that the way it's currently drafted, it's primarily a supply side goal, and having worked for a long time for PG&E in the demand side of the business, I think the demand side is especially important for us as well. And that would apply even more in the energy paragraph of the energy related goal. And I'm kind of in favor of keeping this element concise, so I don't think we need both electric and gas separate. I would be inclined to combine them together in an energy goal. But I defer to you, Jennifer, as to how to compile that and touch those bases on decarbonization, electrification, and I think affordability of energy is important as well.
Okay. Any other comments in this section as I'm scrolling through? Okay.
Well, I maybe just I didn't actually say what I wrote down here, which is water use conservation absolute reduction as a part of the goal. Right now, it just says we meet the needs of the community, but we don't have a reduction-oriented goal, whereas I believe our urban water management plan, which is cited later in the document, is kind of specific to that, and the state is specific to that. So I think we should be clear in our goal that that's reduction is part of our goals.
And I did get comments from, that entity that does groundwater as well, so.
Groundwater Sustainability
Yep,
Agency, yeah.
that group, thank you.
I can see something in goal number 5 here that talks about responsible solid waste disposal. And I think we could have something more than disposal as the title. Management, handling, generation. Rather than focusing only on the throwaway, it's the whole management side of the solid waste, which we get into in the text, of course, but it belongs in the bold in some way.
Are you saying,
Responsible solid waste management and disposal, something like that would improve what I'm reading here. Management, reuse.
And the second line, I mean, I think management would be good, just because the second line says waste disposal, recycling,
That-
and reuse.
yeah, that's,
Yeah, that's
So
an
maybe
excellent
like,
place for it, sure.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can't spell.
Something
tonight,
like that, yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Having jumped to 5 there, I noted that this is the one goal that makes specific reference to a piece of state legislation, one that's now quite a bit older. And while I think that is important, we do want to make sure that our goals are in alignment with state legislation. I would argue that it's probably pretty important to add SB 32 and AB 1279 in the energy section as well. And you may want to do something like that in water. I'm not as facile with the legislation in water, but
I need you to repeat the bills, please, SB 70.
yeah.
80,
AB 1279, which is the net zero by 2045.
oh,
And SB 32 is the 2030 goal, 40% below 1990.
thank you. Okay. Others on the summary section of the goals before moving on to the next? Okay. All right, goal number 1.
Is it still politically correct to say growth management in California?
We do.
I wonder if somewhere in this whole growth management, we should add something about the city's goal of 2030 net zero carbon with respect to growth management overall. Obviously, I didn't think of that earlier since a lot of this red is mine. But something in here, when we talk about growth and growth management, we have a 2030 target that might fit from a city plan.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Really don't, he didn't really understand what that means.
Yes, I have that comment still right here.
Okay.
What does this mean? What does it?
I guess on 1.1, if we can go back up to UPS 1.1, and maybe this is David's edit, while assuring compliance with appropriate regional, state, and federal laws. It strikes me that by calling that out, we're saying that our goal is to merely comply. Whereas I think our city council has provided direction that we want to attempt to lead in climate-related matters, and to the extent that we know that the rest of the world tends to look to California in particular Northern California, for that. So I just point that out. I don't know if compliance
I
is
just
nearly
moved
what
the
we-
term around to make it read better, but that's a good point, Tom, to add that we go beyond compliance with current laws, but achieving our other objectives, including 2030.
So this is where maybe even some council guidance on, is there really a commitment to support our intention to lead in our general plan and policy? So, I don't know.
I don't either. So maybe it's a different word other than, or maybe it's another word, but, so I like the way that it was changed. So right now it's reading to ensure the provision, or to ensure provision of appropriate, efficient, and accessible overall public facilities and services. So how would that be modified to lead?
While assuring compliance with the laws and exceeding them
In accordance with city
where
goals and objectives,
where feasible,
stated goals and objectives.
and
So you
and
go
in the interest of
beyond
the
laws at
city
that
of Sonoma,
point.
something like that. The word compliance just opened this whole can of worms up for me, so I
Okay.
haven't really thought it through, but.
As a general compliance officer.
And on the same page at the bottom one, I'm happy to defer if anybody has any other ones. On 1.5, the city's sphere of influence, limit growth in Sonoma. I guess I was a little confused when I first read through this as to the jurisdiction. I was a little confused if there's a difference there. I guess the sphere of influence and the city are now quite almost identical, so this is not intended to mean valley-wide.
No.
But, okay, so as long as that's clear.
Yeah, so that is tied to our growth management ordinance, right? So,
The urban growth boundaries business, I think.
yes, exactly. And that was the tie to limiting this. Our growth boundary is actually our sphere of influence, which is why you see it written that way.
Which again begs my original comment of growth management as a construct at the city level when we are in a housing crisis statewide that the county realizes as a arena allocation of over 3,000 units that are being built just to our northern boundary, where we don't have the same jurisdictional ability to support those units. So is this whole policy even something we really, that's still relevant in the current?
It was just voted on and it doesn't expire until 2040. So until then, there's only one exception, and that is 100% affordable. Or somebody brings it back to the ballot.
Right, you're talking about the growth mandate, or the UGB, and I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing the question of whether our general plan wants to continue to be focused on limited growth, which is forcing the burden of in the rest of the county, and in our case, the Sonoma Valley, our workforce, for our thriving local downtown economy, is being forced to live outside the valley,
So when
outside the city.
Yeah, so when we adopted the urban growth boundary, that actual resolution included a general plan amendment. So, and so the general, because it needs to be consistent with the general plan. Remember, our general plan sets our policy. And so that was part of that. So we do need to be consistent still. Doesn't mean that we aren't looking at other things, right? We're still looking at increasing housing in our boundary, right? We're just not looking at expanding the city's boundary.
And I take, obviously, this is the utility set element, not the housing element, so it's maybe not the right place to be having this conversation, but it just, the fact that growth management popped up here as the first policy set, I was like, what?
All right, actions.
So I only had one under here. UPS 2 actions.
Oh wait, I'm on UPS 1.
That's, then I'll wait till we get there.
All right, so nothing on goal 1 actions. All right, goal 2, policies.
So just again, I noticed that conservation of water is missing from the actions. And then the other thing I noticed was that,
2.5, Tom? Water conservation and planning efforts.
thank you, David, I guess I was
And
reading
some is
too
slides into
quick-
2.6.
quickly. No, that's true, it is there. And so,
It, 2.5 could be stronger than continue to participate in by support strong or support effective, or language like that could be a little stronger than what I'm reading here. Mr. Editor.
yeah, that's a recommendation of our ad hoc on water and cash for turf, is that we would
Yeah,
like to see
that could be
ourselves
stronger language in that one.
more commitment to water conservation and the participation in this effort. The other categorical thing I noticed was that under water and wastewater, the headings, one was water systems and the other was wastewater management, I think. And water systems and then wastewater management. And it struck me that that was not parallel, that both are systems, both need management. So, maybe that's just an editorial typo kind of thing.
One is supply and the other is management of wastewater. One is supply and the other is management of wastewater. They're quite different in that regard. Systems is an odd word there. Water supply?
No, this is about all of it, the supply, the storage, and distribution, and I think so, and then the wastewater is going to be obviously collection and
It's sort of
management.
for me, it questioned whether there might be bias creeping in, like one is more infrastructure oriented, the other is more operations oriented, because that definitely has a budgetary impact. So, I don't know, that was just my read of moving through this quickly.
Actions. 2, you had 1 in actions, UPS 2.
Right, so this is the one where I think I said I didn't see conservation, but, and it does reference the urban water management plan here.
And the groundwater.
But it doesn't say reduction of water use specifically, so that was,
You could almost add an item that was driven by water conservation. Water use
'Cause
conservation.
a good
It's
chunk
not
of
in here
a
directly.
good chunk of the urban water management plan involves not just water supply and distribution, but water conservation, best management practices. So that's why I thought it was important to kind of elevate that in this action language. Thank you.
All right. Did I move too fast, or are you guys good with that one? Okay. Wastewater system management, whichever. I don't think it had anything before.
No, just
It just said wastewater.
Do we still have a free inspection of private sewer laterals program, or has that been discontinued?
Good question.
Because even if we don't have it, it's probably still worth having some management policies involving, care and feeding of those systems. So that might be a question for your partners at the water agency, the water sanitary district. And, I didn't really read the section before, but the thing that occurs to me looking at it right now is that what's remarkable about our sewer treatment plant is that we are, I think, the oldest in the system, the most expensive to maintain, the highest amounts of overflow into the bay. And Richard, thank you for validating my vague recollection of this. And also the highest greenhouse gas emissions in the whole system for the whole county as a result of those untreated emissions. So, oh, there it is right there. Elimination of untreated discharges and hazardous completed substances sewer systems. Oh, that's on the customer collection side.
Yeah, it's on the collection.
I'm thinking in terms of, do we at the city want to have a policy associated with encouraging our sanitation district partners to improve the dilapidated infrastructure that we sold them for pennies on the dollar, I think, or whatever happened, however that responsibility got transferred. Anyway, that is a literal can to open.
Philip's in? Public comment? May we have public comment in the middle of all this? I believe so.
Sure.
Mr. Dale?
Can you come to the mic,
You
please?
need to be at the mic, sir.
Richard Dale, Sonoma Ecology Center. Thanks for all your work, by the way, all of you on this. This is really remarkable to see so much going into this, and a lot of thought. And I know how much Jennifer's working on housing. I haven't read this carefully, of course, at all. I've just really scanning it this evening. Is there any gray water sort of development in the whole water sort of supply side? Would that be something that would be worth including in the process? And that's all I wanted to add.
I think I've added some gray water in there. We might want to find a place to add rainwater collection. There's the interesting concept that I've been pushing for rainwater collection at the city corporation yard, large roof on 8th Street East. That would be in UPS 3 Echo, it looks like.
Okay. Any other comments in goal 3, either policies or actions? The actions are in front of you right now.
On that 3B, meet existing and projected demand. The other feature of our sanitation system is it's pretty low and in terms of altitude. And I don't I don't know what the inundation map shows, but that within the duration of our general plan, we may have to deal with that. It's probably worth having a goal in here that we will at least monitor and plan for sea level rise, and insofar as it impacts our sanitation facility, and probably also groundwater on those areas that would be impacted by salination. A lot to think about over a 40-year future, but now's, I guess, the time to be doing it.
Okay. In 3A, are we worried about the same compliance issue that we had earlier?
Excellent, thank you for that.
Like continuing and, I don't know.
So you want to go beyond compliance to
I mean-
performance standards?
If that's the trend that we seem to be moving towards with other areas where we're mentioning complying with standards.
In particular, with respect to the greenhouse gas impacts of, again, this system, it's hypocritical to be climate smart and then not attend to your leaking waste treatment plant.
Other points?
Any other comments? All right, we're going to move on to goal 4.
Yeah, in 4.3, meets or exceeds regulatory requirements. Again, is that compliance minimum concept. And does that make sense to also flag that here?
Meets or exceeds certainly helps in that regard as opposed to just
Thank you.
meets.
Exceeds, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, exceeds.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a model for some of that other language.
Yeah.
And maybe even intentionally trying to meets or, to the extent feasible, exceeds. Under 4.5, there's a specific reference to Phase 2 General MS4 permits. That sounds highly specific, and I don't know anything about this area. So it just begs, is that current? Or is that something that's from our old plan?
I don't know what the status of the town is that we have a sufficient amount of combined sewer to fit within the Phase 2 MS4. I just don't know. That I should have looked at.
Good, so that is a
thing.
current
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I was asking.
I'm not sure if that this is correct, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is there low impact developments is defined above?
Yes. Okay. Others on this one? And 2 more.
right, and
I'm asking a general question in this section about something I've noticed over the history of the last general plan, and Richard's in the room, so I'm gonna, the creek is no longer, it's downgraded, it's eroded in elevation since I was a kid. And that section pertains to the speed of the water flowing through the drainage systems in the city, and yes, it's a good thing to slow the speeds down, but do we actually have a goal or set of policies that would keep us from losing altitude in our creeks and our drain systems? I don't know enough about water hydrology and all of that.
It regulates flow and volume. Those are the two. And yes, we do have that in California.
Yeah, we do have that. And so the question is, do we need to be more explicit in our general plan about policies that will help us mitigate what we've actually experienced over the last 25 years of our general plan
I
cycle?
would assume that if you have approvals of permits, that's one of the things that's reviewed is whether the rate of flow adequately.
Right. You're thinking specifically of a development project, which is getting water off a particular
You're talking
parcel.
about existing.
I'm talking about the shared resource of the city's creeks and the city's other drainage system. And I think most of this language that's in here right now is structured around the idea of making sure water doesn't move from one parcel onto somebody else's responsibility parcel and do damage there. But cumulative impact, we have to start thinking about the entirety of the flow through the system. So I don't know how to address it in here. It's just
Yeah, so, what we're talking about here mostly, like you said, is going to be more about stormwater flow based on pervious, impervious with new development. That's really, what we're focused on. What happens in the creeks themselves and things like that. Remember, this is a general plan. It's going to set bigger policy. However, we need to recognize, and that's why we try to do in here, is that we have all these other agencies that this is their job to do, right? We have a piece of this. When we issue permits, they give us the ability to do stormwater permits, but that's based on their understanding of the whole system. And so that's why when I made a comment earlier about like the groundwater, agency, they've provided comments. Hopefully Sonoma Water will provide me comments that we can implement in here. I'm looking, the Water Quality Control Board, sets the standard by then which we do the NPDES and all that fun stuff. But I don't know that there may be a specific thing in the general plan, because I also don't want to differ from those that know or those that do.
right. And I guess because I questioned authority since I was a little kid and just haven't stopped, I think, if we are going to rely on the water agency to make sure that the flows through the local creeks are appropriate, and they decide they want to put riprap in along a particular section of creek, which we know will preserve that property from greater erosion, but then will increase the velocity and move that, displace that impact downstream. Is that something we as a city want to get upstream of, so to speak, and have some policy input into that otherwise expert discussion? I don't know if we're in a place to do this, but I defer to people to know more.
Technically, sedimentation is a contaminant. And if there's excessive sedimentation, that's actionable under the couple of the different water acts. And it is, there is a regulatory component of it, but primarily, in my experience at least, it's handled in the development process of new developments. And riprap, for example, is a great thing because it reduces the velocity in some people's minds.
So, and the other thing about the creeks, they're not under our jurisdiction, it's Sonoma Water's jurisdiction. We have to get our permits from them to do the work or to do things. And if we wanted to enclose any of the creeks, they have to say that's okay. So we don't really have that much control. What we're doing in this is identifying the things that we have control over and then work with those that do on what they do. If you find something and you want to propose it, send it on down the way. I think that that's where, in some of these cases, where if we want to go further, provide examples of what that could potentially look like. That's not, if there is something specific versus just generalized of going further. Because as we know, 20 years from now in 2045, further is going to be completely different than what we're thinking of today, as we all know, because this is my second general plan. So.
Public comment from Richard Dale.
And I really appreciate your comment because it's a strange web of agencies and jurisdictions that especially deal with water and water through.
I guess for any public who are watching on television, you should
Richard Dale,
introduce
Sonoma
yourself.
Ecology Center. I did want to just suggest the one nexus that may be appropriate here is related to, and maybe it's in a different element, but the fact that stormwater is a contributor to the flooding, and as we all know, Sonoma City is situated mostly on a wetland, and every time we add development, it's sort of exacerbating the problem. The countermeasure to that, because so much water is arriving at the city and arriving faster with the development outside the city and just the way climate change is working, something we've been looking at and would be great to have somewhere reference as a goal, to be looking upstream with our partners from the Water Agency, from Sonoma County, to look at projects that could potentially be holding water, especially on Nathanson Creek, but in other places. And we have a couple places where we could do some of this on the hillside lands and such. But to be able to retain that water, just to attenuate the flood flows, would be a big benefit to the community. And we'll add some comments to this, Jennifer. But just wanted to bring that into this because I think this is perhaps where that nexus will be.
And I think something to remember is that we are 2.7 square miles.
Right.
And Sonoma County is also doing their general plan. Right, so keep watching. So they're just in the public comment section now. They're just taking comments and things like that. I mean, there's a lot that we talk about that it's like, hey, county, this is for you. This one's going to be for you, too. Because we need you to participate with us in that valley approach. Like, we've added some things that are more talking about the valley within our different elements. I'm not opposed to that in concept. It's the what. What is it exactly that we're saying? Again, I remind y'all, this is not my knowledge base. I can do low impact development. That's my knowledge base. But
we'll provide some suggestions and some.
Great.
Yeah, and it sounds like
Thank you.
Richard's comment fits under UPS 4D right there, perhaps, maybe elsewhere, but at least there.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get into specific flooding as a hazard in the safety element. And then it's also in the hazard mitigation plan that all of you will be going to on Thursday. All right. Number 5, solid waste.
This section's just garbage.
Ta-da-ch.
I'm going to throw out that comment.
That was a good one too, dude. Puns intended in this commission. Comments on the waste.
Yeah, so I was cleaning up the garden and I was listening to a podcast about plastics. Plastics are in our bodies. It's in the meconium that babies poop out when they're born. And do we want to add a specific policy or goal to reduce plastic
Sure.
usage in our city? I think we should be leaning in that direction.
Let me give you an idea of what the state's doing right now. OEHA is studying plastics. There are studies that show a correlation between the amount of plastic in people's brains and whether they're having problems with memories. But they are at the point where there's no proven connection yet, but they're going to be setting up some standards. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to stop using plastic tops altogether in the end, but we're really at the point where OEI is like just in the initial steps of this. So I don't think we're going to get it. We're that much smarter than they are. We are, maybe, but you are. But it's like, it's still, I mean, there's plastics in Antarctica and there are plastics in your bodies from, as you pointed out, the time you were born. So they're trying to develop some kind of standard and trying to get the medical impacts of that. And they just don't know it. Senility, they see more plastics in people's brains who are worse off, but they haven't connected that yet.
Yeah, the podcast was talking specifically about California state law and how there has, Recology was a sponsor of a bill that, was going to be a ballot initiative that at the last minute was negotiated that the legislature would instead make the changes in the plastic system. And then at the last minute, all that 2 years worth of regulatory work was thrown on the trash heap by the governor. And we're back at square one on that. And so my question for you all is, do we want to put a specific goal, and maybe it's not an action yet, but a policy or a goal that we will, because we already have our own local ordinance, our own county-wide collaborative zero waste Sonoma process, and we've got state law helping a little bit, and in fact the Attorney General is suing Exxon, I believe, over lying to us about recycling being a feasible technology. So I'm inclined to put plastics reduction in here as a explicit policy of the city.
I added it up here, add a policy and action to reduce plastics. But if there's something specific, my intent around it, and that's why I was adding my other comment down here, is to look up what exactly we have in these code sections, because I know we have a no single-use plastics, that helps reduce, right, the amount being produced and used. We have the plastic bags. We've got, so that's where I was going with, but I think we still have plastic straws here. That's what
You have the compostable takeout stuff as well, which
Yeah.
actually isn't compostable.
We know that one too.
But nobody else knows that in the whole community. Everyone just dumps it all in the compost.
You know what? I just got in the mail because I'm in Boise, from a nice little handout about don't put that stuff in there. This is the only, and it had all these pictures, this is the only thing you can put in here. We don't want to see your compost bags. We don't want to see your compost anything. The idea behind those is that they go in the trash and that they will compost with the rest of the trash but not in a compost.
Right, it doesn't seem like people are smart enough to figure that one out.
Yeah, well,
Well, it has the same name, compostable. You want to put it in the
Exactly.
compost, right?
I was one of those people that was
Yeah.
like, oh, the light switch went on. I just saw it yesterday, I think. And it was great. A great little flyer that they handed out in the mail. So that's where I was going with just like, are there other types of, we could explore other regulations around reducing the use of plastics. And I don't know what all that could encompass that we may not have already looked at. But there's just things that we could put in here around that. I'm just thinking of reducing plastics and what we can actually affect is going to be more on an ordinance consumer end.
How about a remodeling tax? Nope. That's not going anywhere.
Taxes require the vote. Others in the actions? And again, if you think of things after this meeting, your brain's still going tonight.
Yeah,
You
the
can
other
send
thing that
stuff.
pops up, and I'm reminded of Travis's good work on the employer responsibilities, what's it called, the responsibility of the manufacturer to ensure that their materials are recoverable and reusable for their life cycle. Forgetting that buzzword for that. We might want to make a notation. We have our own policy in the city that supports that already, and we might want to reference that in the general plan. Just popped in there. It's getting late.
I wonder if in 5A, we should add something that we're not only working with the county agency and other interested parties, whoever they are, but to name the Sonoma waste collectors, contracted, so they're called Sonoma Garbage at the moment, but in a general plan, we could talk about City of Sonoma contract management agencies to expand all this. So we'd put a little more of a burden on the local contract collector to be engaged aggressively in all this. Could fit in 5A.
We usually do that through the franchise agreement with the hauler, and that goes out to bid periodically.
Yep.
It hasn't gone out to bid
But
in
it
a
could
while,
be part of a general plan to generally do that with the contracted agency.
Okay. Schools, libraries, and other community facilities, UPS number 6.
We haven't said anything about telecommunications, have we?
In this one, I don't think so.
Because when I think of utilities, I think of the
No.
Public Utilities Commission, which regulates telecommunications, energy utilities, water. Water, I guess, is under a different branch, but also transportation utilities like taxis and buses.
So we would include like taxis, buses, and things like that in the circulation element, because it's movement of goods and people.
I agree. I think that's right. The MEOM circulation would be the infrastructure that they roll on, but the
But telecommunication, wireless policy would be here. So I'm gonna come back here, just give me 2 seconds.
Okay, where are we?
Went back to the top, so I'm going back to the bottom. To make my note. All right. Any comments, thoughts, feelings on policies in number 6?
I'm not sure if it's in here or implied in here, but it does seem like there should be like EV charging facilities at the public, at schools and libraries. I'm not sure if there are in some places, but I know I'm close to the library. I don't think there's one there.
I will look back because we talked about EV in circulation. About EV charging stations. So I will look back at that one though. Making note over here. Okay. Philip has a name there. And then actions. And it's the last page. It says...
We're there. Are we there?
Oh, we've got more to talk about, so I'm trying to get us going.
Oh, God.
All right. You like these long meetings. All right, here we go. Climate smart. That was the other one. Did you guys have a chance to look at kind of that draft definition concept?
This was produced by the E&O team, I gather, in coordination with our friends in the chamber, I think, and interfacing with this. Norma, does that seem right to your memory?
Yes, in light of the presentation by Sarah, I think we need to go back and rethink this.
Now, this was produced before the city
Yes.
got really excited about the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And who has the lead on that? Is that the E&O ad hoc team, or so the commission as a whole knows what's going on? Who the lead to do a revised, updated version of this?
I think this is a much bigger conversation that needs to be fleshed out, and many of Tom's points earlier were our points that need to be wrapped into this. So I would say that we just need to hold on this until we can figure out how we're going to flesh it out.
Table it and see what
Yeah,
happens.
well,
as
but I'd
opposed to
like
Sarah's.
somebody in the
Yeah.
lead to bring it back at the next commission meeting with, or through staff in the meantime, under the Brown Act, either way, to not let lie too long. But somebody should be in the lead. I'm happy to call it Education and Outreach Team unless somebody has a better idea.
So I think that E&O should continue to lead that and take the comments. And are there any additional comments right now that you would take into consideration from the
Or
other?
could be provided subsequent to a meeting that's already gone 2 hours and
Through-
20
through
minutes
me.
in terms of
Yeah.
further comments. Good night, Mr. Dale. Thank you.
Yes, you can send them through me.
Perfect.
Okay?
Back to the E&O team to
Yeah.
bring back to the next commission meeting and proposed revisions here too.
Okay. All right. So the next item then. So we've lost our public. So 3.4 is now done, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, 3.4 is now done. If there are any other commissioner comments on that before we have a whole discussion, I'm wondering after 2 hours and 20 minutes if we should have a 5-minute bathroom break. Does that sound like a good idea? I know it's late, but maybe it's a good time to do that. And we'll try to wrap up the rest of the commission agenda expeditiously. 5-minute break. Going once, twice?
Sounds good.
I'm lost. 3.4?
3.5.
We're done with 4?
Yep.
Yeah, oh yes, we are. 3.5, we have a city council approved work plan, and ad hoc committee reports.
So,
We're starting with education and outreach as the first report. Would you like to take the lead? No, you would not. You want to make me do it? Okay. We've had extensive ongoing discussions at the E&O ad hoc with the team from the Chamber of Commerce, very successful in that regard. As I mentioned, while Sarah Tracy was here, the original discussions of Climate Smart Sonoma as a tourist destination emanated there. It was terrific. My summary is the following, and let me just, in the spirit of being quick, just name titles and then people will raise questions about where we're at. There's a continuing discussion of an EV shuttle. I will come back to that because I have a couple of more comments on it. We have the Green Links, Green Connections discussion that's been kind of important, and there's some important mapping going on we can discuss. There's a lot of work on trees and trees in Sonoma. There's a concept with the E&O team still to be fully fleshed out of organics management in the city of Sonoma and a possible town hall in 2026 early in the year jointly with Sonoma Garbage and other interested parties. There's the whole issue of the business role in climate smart action in Sonoma, working with the chamber and with other businesses. Rainwater capture mentioned in the city corporation yard is an important climate smart issue. The E&O team is very interested in and hasn't yet had a lot of progress with resident actions. How do we outreach to the 10,000 residents of our city, and how do we potentially link through the high school, having high school students take home to their parents flyers and information and getting resident and family involvement that way. Integrating Climate Smart Sonoma into our new general plan update. We've spent an hour or so touching on pieces of that in great detail. And there have been some discussions at KSVY, and I think there's another KSVY event coming up Thursday with Commissioner Fogelberg in action next week, Thursday. So that's my sort of very brief summary. Anything to add at this late hour? No.
So
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
you wanted to get any feedback around your Sonoma Garbage event?
Yeah, we've thought of an event focused primarily on organics management, the sort of local implementation of Senate Bill 1383, what we've done, what we could do better, where challenges exist, a joint effort between the Climate Action Commission and Sonoma Garbage and others potentially focused on City of Sonoma, maybe at the community center, maybe in January, or as things stall out, maybe more like February, March. So that's a concept we would love other commissioners to take this opportunity around the Brown Act to have a full discussion of whether we want to do it, who wants to participate, ideas, concerns, and so on.
No question you can talk trash, but
Dirty boy.
what are we gonna cover? Just let me know.
So the question is, what are we going to cover? Norman, do you want to jump in on that or give me a break?
To date, we've done a lot of work with the city on city structures, city parks, and such. So this is an opportunity to bring in residents. And the intention here is to bring Zero Waste Sonoma, our recycling, composting collectors in. Michael has developed with the Sonoma Valley Rotary an amazing, it should be an app, but it's not, document on almost any possible product and
On
how to distribute it.
recycling and how to recycle.
It, compost it. So it would really be a resident-focused event, a couple of hours where these items are presented, shown how to use it, like that. So it would be outreach. And we've spoken to Sonoma Garbage, they're interested, we've spoken to Jennifer. We'd have to involve like Wake Up Sonoma, not Wake Up Sonoma, Zero Waste Sonoma, and some others. And the goal is to show that the Climate Action Commission is working on residential issues as well as city issues. And if you have feedback or comments, we welcome them. If you think that this may not be the best way to approach our residents, we're in the process of looking into this and developing it, so.
I would love to see a card. Here's this is what you can do with it. Because putting on a program like this, you're gonna have a lot of things to tell people they're not gonna remember.
The rotary system is
rotary
very good
system-
on that. I call it a matrix. I've been told it's not a matrix, but it's a series of squares that go across and down, and you push on it electronically, and it links you to information on the
Is that
internet.
available now?
As far as I know,
So
not
it
yet.
is not fully fleshed out yet. It needs graphics, but it would be ready at this event. And I've talked to them, and they would love to hand it out. They've spent a lot of hours on this, and there's just so many products that you could be directed to exactly what to do with it. So that would be one component.
I don't know if you're gonna get people to attend, but I know there's a real use for that kind of bingo card type
Yeah.
approach.
You can often give a party and not too many come. We think we'd like to try finding ways to reach out to residents and not just be talking to us and city staff. And 35-year head of the Sonoma Ecology Center as the only participant from the public. So, and Michael, who's presenting tonight. I may find this in here somewhere.
We can send it. So, if you have comments, yeah, please.
I mean, we can brainstorm later, but, we're having a brainstorm in public right now.
We have to start it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get the kids interested in coming for some reason to bring their parents, that would be definite, way to generate some interest in it on the weekend. Besides the zero waste and Sonoma garbage that you mentioned, I know that there's some people who use the worms, the red worms for the compost, and to learn about that and to see that is something that the kids are always interested in, and seeing those bins. We had a huge business, I think the biggest one in Sonoma County, if not California, that was the processing agricultural waste, or the cows' manure with the
Yes.
worms. And I know personally Amy Grimes, who worked there, and she could probably have some sort of a presentation there. I know they closed the business itself, but she's probably really well connected in that field anyway. But I think that, if you could make it some sort of, for lack of any better word, like some sort of a garbage fair, that you have on a weekend for half a day. I think that it could be interesting enough, especially if you get the teachers to promote it to their kids and the kids to bring their parents, because everybody produces waste in their house, to come and learn something about it and have some fun components as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. Then
Agreed.
I think,
And we've gotten that feedback. And I think, Philip, we have the opportunity to reach people. We don't have to review it in detail here, but we have our partner contact list, And I can tell you, I did an event on Wednesday night, and by myself with Sonoma Immigrant Services, and we filled the Sebastiani Theater just through how we managed outreach. So 330 people just through email and outreach. So I think we can reach them. I think having the children involved, the schools will send out messaging. I'd like to see the commission support this and have it be a partnership between the CAC and these other agencies. I think it's important for our town to recognize that we are also working on their behalf as residents and businesses. So I would say that's the ask for here. Do you all feel that you can get behind this? Not everybody will participate in making it happen, but certainly the E&O team and John, maybe yourself. And so that's the kind of support we'd like to find out tonight.
So that's the ask from the commission. Do we want to take a straw vote or a real motion? Would you like to make a motion?
Jennifer, how does that work?
To get the sense of the commission in a
You can
formal
just do
way?
a straw.
Just
do a straw vote, I think is totally fine. You're just trying to see whether or not you want to move forward with something at this point. So the
have the
majority of
commission
you are
support.
here.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have majority, then maybe you guys don't proceed. And then if you do have majority, you proceed, but,
So
take
rather
people's
than a formal
comments.
motion, we could just, the chair could just ask for a show of hands of those, of commissioners who would support the commission sponsoring an event that we've been discussing early in the new year at some point to be. Questions, sure.
So you said that the focus would be on residents.
And businesses.
And businesses. So the question that I have is, we have the prohibition on plastic, disposable flatware, as well as single-use plastics. And I get a sense that there's not 100% compliance right now. And it occurs to me that the Climate Smart label could be integrated into some kind of pledge by the businesses to comply with that existing obligation. But I go to restaurants and I find that there's still not compliance. So if that's something you want to work on as part of this, it's somewhat connected to what you said before about straws and not knowing where to put the compostables. I think you'd be trying to focus on that problem of which of these
Yeah.
products are compostable, which are not. And we may, it just feels to me like there's, especially in our very visitor-oriented economy, there's a lot of opportunities for people to not understand any of this and for businesses to survive without any consequences.
So the work that David and I have been doing with the chamber has really incorporated looking at this with the businesses. And I think it's separate from the day event.
Right.
And a big part of the work that we're doing with Mark Bodenhammer is about this and how can we encourage more compliance. There's a lot of discussion about what to call this and whether it is Climate Smart Sonoma, and then what is the criteria behind this, and it's become, as you said in your comments earlier, a huge discussion point, when really what we want to do is move things forward and not have to be so detailed about this that it opens up even more discussion and then no action takes place. But that is what we're working on with Mark. And we've had Emma Lipp from Valley. We've had the managing director of the Fairmont involved. There's about 6 different businesses from different areas of the visitor experience that have been weighing into this. So we're moving that forward, but this Climate Smart Sonoma has actually a bit tripped us up.
Okay. So that's helpful. So I think I'm hearing keep the two separate for now until Climate Smart is a little more mature and the criteria are a little more commonly understood by
And
everybody.
defined, agreed upon.
And that makes me feel
We've
good
been seeking
too.
a way to fully energize the residents, and we thought the sort of solid waste compost management piece would be a really good one. Another one might be energy conservation and all of that. That gets a little more technical, a little less in the bucket in your kitchen.
Right, and Bay
So
Run
we thought the
really is-
kitchen would be a kind of good place to start.
Yeah, so I'm in support of what I'm thinking of as a compost fair, compost event, and
Trash con.
Yeah. Yeah, more than just compost, but yeah.
with a lot of focus on keeping the organics out of the waste stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and making sure that the input side is
Yeah.
you know,
And
buying the right
understanding why
products
it's
to be able-
important on a climate perspective, and this whole process of managing the sloppy organic in a way that is really valuable to do.
Linking this really to circularity
Right.
and helping people understand that process and their contribution or lack thereof to it.
Other comments from commission members and about the E&O team going forward with the lead on this, while we have Brown Act ability to discuss this amongst all of us.
So I don't want to throw a ringer into this one, but my brain is going. So, it is 8:40 and my brain has gone into full energy mode. For some reason, I woke up at 3:30 this morning. So, what I'm thinking actually is to get, I'm in the same, I provided comments previously when we talked as an ad hoc, but what Philip commented, like, how do we get people to come? And I said, yeah, I always enjoyed the going to that table of and playing that game, and I've seen Zero Waste do that game at the farmer's market. We talked about last year, didn't come to complete fruition, about see, told you the brain went. Not Arbor Day, but what? Earth Day. Thank you. So Earth Day. And could you do can we think a little bit broader about Earth Day, have this as a component, because I could see activating, working with Lisa and Dave about an Earth Day activity, and with pros, maybe activating a portion of the circle and having Zero Waste, having the regen group, that did their big event over at the community center where people brought in their stuff. I could see kind
It's
of
a
like
great
a
idea.
bigger picture, so that people that are interested in the composting, there could be a composting table to learn about composting, and maybe there's a guy that has the worms. I've seen it. I've seen people with bags of worms at farmers markets. You know, so I'm just thinking
Yeah.
out loud a little bit more about it so that it's not just so centered on the conversation around waste, but have them participate in a bigger conversation around.
I actually
Climate.
think that's a great idea because last year we didn't think Earth Day soon enough, big enough, etc. And I would go for that.
Gives us more planning time because
Better weather.
That's April, better weather, so sure. So
Outside.
then
yeah.
is the sense of the group as a whole under Brown Act rules that the E&O team can take the lead on thinking about something over a few more months from now that would be a broader kind of event, potentially outdoors on city property, Climate Smart Sonoma at City Hall.
I'm good with that, with the comment I made last year, which is we all know it's a lot of work, but I do think that that's going to come up before this body every year. The
Yep.
Earth Day is an opportunity we're either going to seize or we're going to miss it. And as long as we don't bite off too much and get too ambitious with the Earth Day events, but we keep ourselves focused, and it sounds like this is very focused right now, I'd encourage you to try to stay focused, then yeah, I can definitely support that.
And you probably have a lot of opportunities to do sponsorships, and because, for example, we bought a Lomi when the Lomi came out, and people saw it and loved it. Now they make something called the Mill, which is even bigger, because my problem with the Lomi was it was really small. And so they probably would love to pay a fee and come and show their product, and that would be interesting to people to watch.
Actually, if you all would think about this, we could have a session in February at our next meeting where we could dive deeper into some of the ideas and we can put together the first draft for review.
And indeed, if we're going to do something in April, we'll need to be thinking hard by February to make it work, so that can work.
So the E&O can put together a draft of how this would work and who might come. We could get it out ahead of time through Jennifer. Please add your comments. We're not getting comments back from people when we send out things for requests. I know it's hard, but this should be an easy one. So if you could respond and encourage other commissioners to respond who aren't here, we would appreciate it. We can do a lot of the work, but we need some of your ideas.
I also think it would
Just
be really
do your best, Philip.
important for us to actually have a one-pager this time around too, to actually present what we are, maybe even use that little logo that isn't trademarked by the city. Because I do think that's what was missing. That's where we lost our focus. So something that really shows. So working on that too.
Good guidance, good discussion. We should move on to the rest of the I think we have agreement with I'm sensing pretty good agreement. Water cash for turf. Did we have that
I'll just
on the
briefly
agenda
update
here?
that I don't believe Leo and I have met since our last meeting. We met right before it. And, but I did reach out to Mimi Enright, the University of California Cooperative Extension person who helped work on the plant list and the tree. And I hope to meet with her, with Leo, in the next couple of weeks. Upstream, I think you're planning another joint tree committee meeting. I have forgotten the date of that, so, but I think it's coming.
You're gonna steal my thunder from my director's comments, because that's the only one I got, so. If we're good to go, are we done talking about some of these?
I think going
Okay.
once, going twice, at this hour, we're
Okay,
slow
so,
on talking.
so December 10th, we are looking at having a joint meeting. We still are tentatively for December 10th to have pros, climate action, and planning commission talk about the report. There'll be draft reports, potentially on the tree inventory and possibly the canopy study. So we're trying to see where we're at with those to make sure that we can hold that date. That's why we wanted to just go ahead and set it. It is the pros' normal meeting date. So we would just take a portion of their meeting time and then they would continue on with their meeting after we're done as a whole group. And then just talk about kind of next steps. So that's the intent of that December 10th. We are sticking to the current schedule for next year for the like the quarterly meetings that we have on the calendar. So again, February, so it's the second month of the quarter, consistently on a Wednesday. What are we on? Second Wednesday? Yeah, second Wednesday of the second month of the quarter. Like that. That's our proposal right now. I will say that before February, we will have finished all the elements. We can talk about maybe having a meeting in January, or at this point, we only have 3 left: historic, safety, and land use. I will be releasing land use shortly, and the other 2 I do not have yet. But my goal is to get those out as soon as I get them and get them reviewed. So you may have an opportunity as a commission to review those if we don't have a special meeting in the February meeting, but if not, I will send them to you like I sent to all the commissions of provide your comments as an individual and get those to me so that I can incorporate them. So with that being said, that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any questions for Jennifer? Then we have commissioner comments, reports, and comments. Do we have commissioner reports and comments? Tom, you want to start?
I'll just do it quickly. Last night, the city's Traffic Safety Commission met, and I watched online, and that commission operates with the citizen-generated traffic hazard reporting forms, and there was just a surge in the last quarter of many people reporting traffic hazards around the city. But I was very impressed with staff and how they handled, and with the commission too, how they moved through the list. They handled lots of public concerns, and they seem to be very well focused on the things that are important. And they're going to be reducing the process so that it's not every one report ends up on the agenda for the commission. One person can generate a complaint that requires city attention in public, but I feel confident that traffic safety in Sonoma is really kind of reaching a critical mass. People are thinking about it a lot. And along the same lines, the Vision Zero committee met at this countywide level today, and there was 2 weeks ago a speed reduction workshop that the SCTCA convened, which our Public Works Director, Mike Berger, attended, and it was basically the Public Works people from all the different jurisdictions around the county focused on how we can implement, I think it's AB 43 speed limit reduction laws around the county, and great case studies from Santa Rosa and Petaluma, how they've been successfully able to do that. So I think a lot of this active transportation and infrastructure improvement work in transportation, which is so critical for greenhouse gas reduction, it's happening around us right now, and our city is actively engaged, and I'm very pleased to see that. And then finally, folks might have seen this article in the Sonoma Sun, $2.7 million bike trail to nowhere, question mark.
8th Street East.
8th Street East has been called into question. Just pay attention to that. We don't, I'm not sure how that will play out. And then I meant to send this to the committee by email. I think I sent it to David I can't remember if I sent it to Jacob and you, Jennifer. I did a quick comparison of Sonoma County's greenhouse gas emissions to Napa County's, which have recently been published. And the big takeaway is that Napa's a little bit more rural than we are, and a much smaller county, and their per capita emissions are higher than ours at the county level. And that we have more agricultural emissions, primarily because we have a dairy and chicken industry here in Sonoma County. Finally, sorry, thank you for a long meeting. At the Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authority Climate Action Advisory Committee, we have an opening right now for the city of Sonoma. Our representative hasn't been attending the meetings, and so we're looking for someone from the city. So if you know someone that wants to participate, these are quarterly meetings, I believe, every 2 months, pardon me. We now meet every 2 months. And it's a great opportunity to find out what's going on up at SCTCA. And so if you're interested in that, talk to me, talk to your city council member who would appoint you. Talk to Jennifer, she could put you in touch with the right people too. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Other commissioner comments as we wrap up?
Yeah, I was in
Mr.
San
Phil.
Francisco today. I saw no crimes committed, nor did I see National Guard troops. So I'm not sure there's a correlation there, but
Just you wait. Just you wait. I've been happily wearing my Vets Against Trump shirt, but I won't be political.
you'd
So.
be happy with the results.
Yeah. Other commissioner comments? I have one final set of comments that I would share with respect to the electric vehicle shuttle. We're making some headway on this. I just wanted the commission to know this has been really an initiative of the climate action team with the chamber and the visitors bureau. It's a kind of core theme of Climate Smart Sonoma, to be sure. We have a draft route developed. We've looked at costing for a specialized EV shuttle, very cute, versus the idea of an electric school bus that you paint up to look as cute as you could. Turns out, price-wise, you might as well just buy the cute EV shuttle. It's not enough cheaper to go to an electric school bus. We're looking at a possible operator identified, and I'm going to read you something in a minute on that. And of course, the issue becomes one of funding and whether it be nonprofit or public. Tim Zenner from the Visitors Bureau of Sonoma has shared with me the following. He wanted to be here tonight, and he had other commitments. Last year, Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau piloted a trolley loop from the lodge to the plaza and then to Highway 12 Spain Street. The goal was to see if a bus program could complete a short loop that would cover a significant portion of the hospitality attractions in the city of Sonoma, with short headways, 15 to 20 minutes, to encourage visitors to get out of their cars and go to Sonoma businesses. I would add residents are welcome too. The secondary goal is to provide an alternative to Sonoma employees in the area, especially as the free Sonoma shuttle bus ends before 5 p.m., not very useful for many hospitality industry staff. We're now looking for a provider of services for this loop and have an interested business that has a proven track record here in Sonoma of providing tours using electric vehicles. While I can't divulge too much about it, know that we are encouraging this local entrepreneur and hope we can get some trials up and running for the next tourist season. Additionally, we strongly suggest that we invest in bike racks on the sidewalks in front of businesses along the plaza and at newly daylighted crosswalks, as there are more than 250 bicycles at Sonoma hotels for overnight guests to use. Couple these short-term bike racks in front with longer-term bike lockers for employees, similar to what Smart has at their stations, we could free up parking along the plaza for visitors and keep tourist dollars in town. So that's from the Visitor Bureau. So progress is being made. It's not simple, but we are hopefully doing this. As an aside, the city of Laguna Beach in Southern California has for years had a diesel shuttle, very successful, They've now introduced the first EV vehicle into their system in Laguna. And they do have some significant Orange County funding. So they're ahead of us there, but we're not giving up yet. Any other comments going once, going twice? Done.